Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for Wellness Wednesdays, a community connection. My name is Anne Marie Medina. I am the Director of Corporate and Community Relations for the University of Arizona Health Sciences, and I'm housed here at our Tucson campus. Up on our Phoenix campus, we have Caroline Berger, who serves as our director there, and also Allison Otu, who serves as our executive director. We would love to connect with you, so please email us anytime. Thank you all for sharing with us last week, our last 2 weeks ago, our wonderful celebration of our 1-year anniversary of doing Wellness Wednesdays. We so appreciate all of the folks that have tuned in and listened to all of our wonderful presenters and listened to our faculty and staff talking about a myriad of different topics. And so we again thank you, and we hope that you will continue to join us. Right now, I have a little bit of information I'd like to share with you about the University of Arizona Health Sciences.
Welcome to the University of Arizona Health Sciences. As the statewide leader in biomedical research and health professions training, Health Sciences includes College of Medicine Tucson, College of Medicine Phoenix, College of Nursing, College of Pharmacy, and the Melanina Zuckerman College of Public Health. Together, they provide cutting-edge health education, breakthrough research, and a diverse offering of community outreach services. At the heart of health sciences, our employees, nearly 5,000 along with 4,000 students, makes us one of the top employers in the state. Our growing research and education programs are offered on 2 campuses, one at the main campus in Tucson and the other in the heart of downtown Phoenix on the biomedical campus. The University of Arizona Health Sciences is a major contributor to UArizona's well-earned reputation as one of the country's top research institutions. And each year, we receive more than $200 million in research grants and contracts, providing vital funding to help address some of our most critical healthcare challenges. We are grateful for this support, which is fueling discoveries and treatments in areas including cardiovascular disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and now COVID-19. The University of Arizona Health Sciences is also in a unique position to affect change in a rapidly shifting healthcare landscape. As part of our strategic plan, we have developed a set of initiatives to reshape the future of healthcare. We are focusing our efforts on 5 important areas: next-generation education, precision healthcare for all, making wellness ageless, creating defenses against disease, and new frontiers for better health. Through these strategic initiatives, we have unprecedented opportunities to excel in education and research in more and better ways than ever before, and we invite you to join us on this journey. Please know that our dedicated corporate and community relations team is here to be your connector with health sciences. Thank you for your dedication and for all that you do to make our communities healthy.
Thank you, and we hope soon to be able to see you here in person at both of our campuses. We'd love to give you a tour as soon as we're able to do that. Until then, please follow us on all our social media, and please follow me on Twitter at @AMedinaWildcat. Today, we have a wonderful presentation, and I know you'll have a lot of questions, so please put those questions in the chat box. Just click it at the bottom of your screen, and at the end of the presentation, I will make sure and ask our presenter those questions for you. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope we'll have a wonderful discussion. Don't forget, you'll get an email following up with all the information that is coming from this presentation, along with any attachments or links. And we'll also provide you with a session video link and also links to all of our past sessions. So now, please let me introduce our speaker for today. Katie Christopher is a program coordinator with the Arizona Health Zone, Cooperative Extension Nutritional Sciences, where she educates K through 12 students on the importance of eating healthy and being active. She also provides trainings to teachers on how to incorporate wellness into their classrooms. She acts as an advocate for free summer meals and supports schools in implementing their local wellness policies. Katie graduated from the University of Arizona in 2019 with a Bachelor of Science in Nutritional Sciences, focusing on nutrition and dietetics. Welcome, Katie, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I will go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Katie and I work in the Nutritional Sciences department. We are housed in Chance, but we also go to various school districts. And now currently we're operating online, but hopefully soon we also will be able to start doing some more programming in person. So the AZ Health Zone is who I'm here with today. And the AZ Health Zone is a USDA, so the United States Department of Agriculture, funded program through SNAP-Ed, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And we're the education piece of that. So the different sort of programs that we offer are special project funding, which includes different grants that we allow teachers to apply for, like gardening and food demonstrations. We also do wellness policy support, nutrition and physical activity education, which yesterday I had a lesson with some 6th grade students and we learned about plant parts and we made a broccoli salad together. So that's kind of what that looks like sometimes. And then we also do trainings for teachers. So things like yoga in the classroom, implementing physical activity into the classroom and school day, and also teaching about nutrition in the classroom as well. So as far as today's agenda goes, we're going to start out by looking at the dietary guidelines for Americans and briefly talking about what those look like and some key recommendations for children. We'll then look at the MyPlate, which shows us an overall eating pattern for children and adults. Then we'll move into physical activity for kids and looking at what schools are doing to implement that physical activity and nutrition within their schools. And then lastly, we'll talk about some quick tips for parents and some different resources that are out there. So to start off, the Dietary Guidelines for Americans were first created in 1980, and they include a new release every 5 years. So essentially the reason that they do this new release every 5 years is because it accumulates all of the information and research that's out there, and it applies it to what our eating pattern should look like. So the Dietary Guidelines for Americans are created by the USDA, who is who we operate underneath, and then also the Health and Human Services as well. So it's a collaboration between those two entities. So some different key recommendations for ages 2 through 18. This year, the new dietary guidelines focused on calorie and nutrient needs. So generally, these increase over time with age and physical activity level during childhood specifically. And so they just talked about how as children get older, they're going to need some more calories and more nutrients. And then also they talked about limiting sugar sweetened beverages. So especially in ages 2 through 8, limiting to 4 to 10 ounces per day. The next one, recommendation that they had mentioned was eating behaviors that develop during this 2 to 18-year-old stage. So there's an increase in autonomy over time. Children are getting to pick what foods it is that they want to eat. Sometimes there's picky eaters or food jags, which are when children only want to eat one food or maybe 5 different foods, and that's all they want to eat. And then they are over it and they want to move on to something else. But during this time, eating can be a little bit tricky, but making sure that you're providing options to them is really important. And lastly, there is a concern for low protein in adolescent females. And that includes iron, folate, and B vitamin deficiencies that come along with the menstrual cycle that females eventually will get. So as far as the MyPlate overview, so knowing those sort of recommendations, what does this look like if you were to look at your plate? So the MyPlate is something that we teach our students and parents about, and that although your plate might not look like this at every single meal, we say if you were to get all the food that you ate in one day, put it on a plate, then maybe the ratios would look like this. And so the 5 different food groups that we talk about are fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. And the key messages that we talk about are focusing on whole fruits because that provides more fiber than, say, drinking a glass of orange juice, varying your veggies or eating the rainbow because lots of different fruits and vegetables have different vitamins and minerals based on color, and making half of your grains whole grains, varying your protein routine, and moving to low fat or fat-free dairy milk or yogurt. As far as physical activity goes, we recommend that ages 3 through 5 are physically active throughout the entirety of their day. And so the thought is that adult caregivers are able to play with them throughout the day and make sure that they're being active throughout the entire day. As far as children aged 6 to 17, we suggest that they incorporate aerobic, muscle building, and both bone strengthening exercises. And that will total to 60 minutes per day. And there's actually been research done on how this helps children in the classroom. So the Active Living Research Study done by Dr. Charles Hillman at the University of Florida tells us that even moderate aerobic exercise can contribute to cognitive improvement in adolescents. These brain scans that you can see on the bottom left here are taken of 2 students, one who after 20 minutes of sitting quietly before an exam, their brain scan and what that looked like, and another who took a 20-minute walk before they took an exam. And it wasn't just one student, but they took this research for a lot of students and kind of showed the overall brain scans of the students. And so you can see that there's a lot more brain activity in the student who had gone for a walk, and therefore they think that it's helpful to actually exercise before an exam because it gets students focused and it helps improve those standardized test scores. So now that we know some information about nutrition and food and physical activity with children, let's talk about how schools actually implement that into the school day. So local wellness policy is a written document of official policies that guide a local educational agency's or school district's effort to establish a school environment that promotes students' health, well-being, and ability to learn. And so any school that is operating under the National School Lunch Program is required to actually have one of these local wellness policies under the USDA's final rules. And so what this means is that schools who operate under this program actually need to talk about how it is that they are going to implement nutrition and physical activity practices within their school day. It's sort of like a promise to parents and community members that this is what they're going to do to help their students out. These different topics can cover things like recess, school lunches, snacks, nutrition education, physical activity and education, and more. So here are some quick tips for parents. So one of our first things that we'd like to talk about is connecting at meal times. So sitting down together for a meal when you can, turning off the TV and putting away screens and devices so that you can unplug and connect with your family, focusing on one another. Another thing that we like to say is plan your meals. Reduce stress at meal times by planning out meals the week before it starts. Include quick and easy dishes or leftovers on nights that are extra busy. And let everyone help. Getting kids involved in the kitchen is one of my favorite tips. It allows them to have a sense that they are the one creating it and they're more likely to want to try it as well. You can mix ingredients, wash produce, or set the table, maybe for the younger children who might not know, you might not want them with some knives or, on the heat. So, but older students or older children, you could have them do some cooking on the stovetop. So everyone can clean up too. We also suggest serving a variety of food, so including choices from each food group that we had talked about on the MyPlate before, fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy foods. You can also include soy alternatives instead of dairy as well, and include all of those in the meals and snacks throughout the week. You could even make it a game. Let's choose a fruit this day. Let's choose a vegetable this day, and have the students or children pick those out for you. And letting them choose. So getting them engaged and having family style meals, putting all of the food out on the table so that they're able to serve themselves. And lastly, offering non-food rewards. So foods aren't the only rewards that children like, but younger children may enjoy gathering points to go towards a special outing, or older kids could earn free time or an allowance. And so those are just some of our different tips that we have. All right, and here are some of the resources that we offer families that we work with. We do have a Facebook page, and you're able to like that every week. Currently, we've had a Thrifty Thursday post where we talk about how to save money when going to the grocery store to buy healthy meals. We also use our AZ Health Zone recipe page down here. You can search an ingredient, and it will show you different meals that include that ingredient. In the middle here, we have a SNAP-Ed PSC interactive map. So we work a lot with policies, systems, and environmental changes. And so looking at what that looks like within a community is really cool. We also have, we use the Dietary Guidelines for Americans, and those are available to the public for you to check out and see what might be new this cycle. And lastly, the Cooperative Extension has a YouTube page where they will do food demonstrations and go gardening and have a lot of fun activities for the children. And that is it for me today, but thank you all so much for attending.
Katie, thank you so much. Don't stop sharing your screen. I want you to go back to that slide that showed the brain activity with exercise. Yes. I think that's really important to talk about. So if you could talk about that in a little bit more detail, that part across the top that really describes how the activity actually impacts students, because it's not just kids.
Yes.
For adults, taking those breaks, we learned on our last session about the importance of play. And so, how activity actually impacts the brain. So if you could go into that a little bit more detail, I think that would be very interesting.
Definitely. So one of the trainings that we actually offer teachers is called Move More Brain Energizers. And we talk a lot about different activities that teachers can do to just create movement within their classrooms. And so teachers are able to use that movement time as either if they want to go through yoga poses, it's sort of like a focusing, kind of honing things in, and they can use that either at the start of their day, maybe right after lunch, or maybe at the end of the day. So talking about how they can sort of integrate that into their curriculum throughout the day. We also talk about how this not only helps students, but this also helps teachers as well to create classroom management and kind of keep the students under control because they're participating in this sort of activity. We have fun little pictures that we show teachers, like alphabet yoga is one example where students will practice spelling out their name or maybe a spelling word with different yoga poses. So it kind of incorporates both education and physical activity together. And I think just overall, it has helped to improve standardized test scores, which is always great for teachers as well.
Right. And that's an interesting one. I was working with a teacher once on a science fair project, and it was a class project, and the class decided they wanted to prove that fact, that they could increase their test scores. And so the kids actually developed their own science fair project where they took a test, a standardized test, and then they did it again after having done some exercise, but they do, a little bit different test. They did it over a period of time, and their whole science fair project proved that yes, that was true. And they went all the way up to the nationals with it because it was so creative for the kids to be able to prove that. I think it's really important for us to understand also that this same thing happens with adults. And that's why it's so important for us to take a break during the day. If you're working on something and you just can't get through it, get up, walk around for about 5 minutes. And now that the kids are, homeschooling, I think it's really important for parents to understand this concept, because they need to go in there and tell the kids, okay, it's time to take a break. Let's go outside. We're going to go for a walk, or let's go throw the ball. Let's do some jumping jacks. Let's run around and play with the dog, whatever it is to get them active and moving to get that impact. So I think that's really important for people to understand that connection between activity and brain function. So I appreciate you sharing that. We do have some questions. I know you were going to say something. Go ahead and I'll look at our questions here.
Yes, I was just going to mention too, I think it's awesome how some schools in their local wellness policy are making the statement that physical activity or recess time will not be taken away from students as a form of punishment, because I think that's kind of how it used to be. Like, if you're misbehaving, we're going to take away recess time. But now people are actually seeing how beneficial it is for the students to go get that energy out and play. So I think that's awesome that some schools are doing that with their local wellness policy.
And I was thrilled when they passed the law that there had to be mandated recess that couldn't be taken away or added to lunchtime or things like that. Had to be an additional 15 minutes each within each part of the day. So I think that's an important concept. We do have a couple of questions. A lot of times in preparation for test taking, schools will hand out candy. What do you think about that, and what are some better options?
Wow. I would say better options might be like small oranges, like a mandarin orange, a cheese stick, little snacks, a granola bar, for instance. Nothing like too heavy. That might be a better option. Candy, I'm not going to say that I recommend candy, but I could see where they might be coming from with, sugar, like as a treat. But yeah, maybe a small orange, an apple, piece of fruit, or a granola bar.
Wonderful. There was a question about allergy prone foods, and when should you start to introduce these to babies or young children? For example, strawberries and nuts.
I would definitely recommend talking to a dietitian or a doctor about those sort of things. There's a lot of mixed research on foods being introduced at a certain time. There's in my undergraduate studies, we talked about peanuts and how some parents would try to, if there was a history of family allergies, then they would try to not have it as often, whereas others might want to implement it in small doses as they were growing older. So I think it really just depends, and the research was inconclusive. So I think it really just depends on what your doctor or dietitian would say.
That's a good recommendation, because it really depends on each child. And there's no, I think, set answer for that. It really depends on the history. Do you have any suggestions for children who are lactose intolerant?
Yes. So I think the most important part of the dairy group on the MyPlate is that they're getting enough calcium. And so, soy fortified milks or almond milk, different milk alternatives that still are getting the children enough calcium. I think that's what's important about that group.
Okay, great. Let's see. How young should you start to introduce milk into a child's diet? And should it be whole milk, low fat milk? When is that the best time to introduce that?
I might talk to maybe like a lactation consultant or a doctor as well, or a dietitian, because we're not really supposed to give clinical advice as nutrition educators, but also a lot of mixed research on that as well.
Yeah, it really depends on what the baby was started on, how they progress and all of that. So yes, I think, for specific questions like that, your best resource is your pediatrician, and they can always guide you to a registered dietitian. We will be having a panel discussion later on in the fall with some of our faculty that are registered dietitians and talking specifically about this. So if you have any questions out there that are very specific, you can send them to me and I'll be happy to pass them on to those folks and get those answers for you. I think there was one other question, Katie, about exercise and what is when you're looking at introducing exercise to kids, and you talked about aerobic activity and weight bearing activity and things. At what age should kids start to look at strength training, and what type of strength training?
Yes. Well, so those recommendations for the aerobic muscle building and strength sort of training are for children 6 to 17. And so I think maybe around that age you might consider it, but that might be a good question for a personal trainer as well. Yes.
And I can tell you, being a personal trainer, certified personal trainer, that you want to be very careful with introducing too heavy weights to children at a certain age, especially when they're going through puberty. Their bone plates are still developing there, and so you need to be very careful about that. Again, it really depends on the child, how quickly they're growing. Best to refer to your pediatrician, find out where they're at, and then make sure that they're working with a trainer who is specifically trained to work with children so that they don't introduce them, because you can stunt their growth. And so it's, you have to be very careful. Wonderful. Well, Katie, we really appreciate all the information that you provided for us. If you want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen, I'll go ahead and move on. And we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All righty, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. Thank you again, Katie, and we really appreciate working with the Arizona Health Zone and the Cooperative Extension. They're a wonderful partner. So next session we have coming up on May the 12th, and this is a great one. We've got Dr. Gradner coming back. He spoke to us before about the importance of sleep, but now he's going to talk to us about the wonders of sleep, aging, and the immune system. There's been so much research going on with how important sleep is to really building our immune system and how it has an impact on our aging. So many times people say that the older you get, the less sleep you need, and that's not necessarily true. So we hope that you will join us for that session. Just to keep in mind, we are now streaming Facebook Live on our University of Arizona Health Sciences Facebook page, so you can watch us there also. So please share that with your friends, but be sure and register for that session, which will be on May the 12th. And until then, we look forward to seeing you in other ways, and we hope that you will join us and look for all of the links that we're going to be sending out, and follow us on our YouTube channel. But until we see you again, we remind you to make sure that you bear down, vax up as soon as you can get that vaccine, and you can walk in any day or drive up to the U of A site anytime without an appointment and get a vaccine. They have them available. But make sure until then, and even after that, until we're ready, mask up. We'll see you all next time. Take care.